Welcome to another episode of Energy Hack Podcast, where we explore the dynamics of the downstream and the midstream energy sector. I am your host, Dami Ajayi. Today, I have a remarkable person in the house. She's a powerhouse. She's an industry expert. Her core is oil and gas. She has been in oil and gas for a number of years in logistics, finance, team building, everything, name it, she is. She currently MDs August 360, and she's also the lead coordinator for
Women in
LPG International, as they say. Welcome with me, Joy Shaiyen. Welcome to the Energy Hack Podcast, Joy.
Hello, Dami. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're
I
welcome.
hope you're not going to ask me questions that I cannot answer.
It's not questions, actually. We're just discussing.
Okay.
You're already offset. You've already told me to call you JS. So
Yeah.
I'll just stick with that. We're friends now.
Sure.
Yeah, JS. So let me tell you the truth, Ed. Before this interview, I've heard a lot about you. I knew about you before you knew about me.
Good things, I hope.
So it depends on what angle. Yeah,
Tell me.
some people that will not name here, and I know you know them, will keep it that way.
Okay.
Call you that you're so troublesome in terms of when it comes to your business, you do not play. That JS, when JS starts her own like this, she gets things done, she must ensure that everything goes her way, and she gets her way. So you have that reputation, I'm just telling you. So I don't know if it's a good thing you want to take it as, but to the person, it's not a good thing because you're causing them a lot of market share. So I know you already know, so we're going to keep it that way and everything. But thank you. I mentioned your experience.
Yeah.
I'd like you to just take us through a bit of it. I know you've been in logistics before. It's all oil and gas, and I'm really intrigued about that.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you some part of my career that I don't have on record.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
So
would love
I
to hear
was
that.
supposed to, my NYSC posting, I was supposed to go to the Nigerian gas company, which was in Ikorodu
Okay.
at the time. And I think it's one of the reasons why mentoring is so important. Because a lot of my friends were on the island, in the banks, in the nice places, I just thought,
Ikorodu, no.
all my mates are going to the island. I'm going to Ikorodu. I'll probably have to take how many buses? The first time I went there, I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. And that was how I ran away from the Nigerian gas company.
Yeah.
Imagine I had someone actually tell me what I was running away from was what I was supposed to be running to. So 2 years, I tried to force myself into the IT space. So I started off in a telecoms company.
Okay.
I tried to force myself, but when it wasn't working, I went back to, and that's how I got back into the oil and gas industry. So I started with an infrastructure development company. So logistics is just one part of
it.
infrastructure. Infrastructure could mean pipeline, it could mean storage, it could mean it's basically getting the oil or the commodity from one end to the other in the best and safest means possible. So I did that for 8 years, and then I decided it was time to come into a space that I wasn't accustomed to, which is entrepreneurship. And that was how I got into the business of looking for people's trouble.
Which you do so well.
So coming to that, I'll just say sometimes when you don't have options, you have to be bullish. I don't have anything to fall back on. I don't have any estate. I don't have a plan B. So when the only option you have is a plan A, the only thing you have to do is give it your all, which is exactly what I'm
such
doing.
a remarkable job, just to say that.
Well, I'd like
An amazing job.
Can I say thank you?
You're welcome.
I'll take that as a compliment.
You're welcome. And look where it's taking you to. So I would say, full circle moment from, where you were supposed to go to NGC. Now you're here.
Back in the gas. I'm back in Ikorodu.
You're back in, exactly. You're back in Ikorodu. So full circle moment. And again, parts, you never know. If you had gone there, you might not be where you are.
Exactly.
You don't know what you could have left to go back to IT if you did that. You never know. So
who knows?
yeah, who knows? So
But
the
I
main
just
thing
thought,
is
I just think I was just supposed to be in the gas space.
it's obvious you're supposed to be in the gas
Yeah.
page. We know that. We know that. So Arcus 360.
Yeah.
What do you do, and what do you want to achieve through that?
What do I do? That's the way that I would usually answer that question if I probably just met someone is,
Yes.
I sell gas. But it's a lot more than that, because you can't just sell gas. There's an entire behemoth of things happening behind an I sell gas, which is the industry, which is the market, the finance, the pricing, all of those things that happen behind a statement that can be as simple as I sell gas. So you could say that I help people to understand the business of selling gas. I make proof of that business by selling the gas myself. And I also help women like myself, young women like myself, to thrive in the industry, to become interested in the industry. And the real big picture is to take a chance with Nigeria and understand that the possibilities are endless in country. Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. How long have you started Arcus 360?
Arcus 360, I would say since 2019. That
okay.
would be about 5 years.
Oh, impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank
and
you.
this Win LPG?
Yes.
Women in LPG. I know you're the national coordinator.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. How is that going so far?
Very well. Like I said, we want more women to stay in the LPG industry. We want more women to come to the LPG industry. And of course, we want to be the voice of advocacy. And because Nigeria is smack in the middle of a decade of gas, there's a lot of things happening.
Yes.
The government is paying more attention and investing in in putting gas forward as a transition fuel as we move away from fossil fuels into net zero. So understanding that women would play a vital role in this transition is also very critical for us, because I would say if you had to choose, let me just put this question to you. If you had to choose between 50 or 100, if you had 50 options or 100 options to choose from, would you go with 50 or 100?
I'll go with 100.
Exactly.
More options.
Exactly. So we would usually say that in any country, women represent 49%. When you don't put women in the pool where they can become participants in the economic growth, then you are you're working at 50% capacity of what you should. Whether they are consumers or they are players in the industry, whether they're using more gas, in which case when people use more LPG for cooking, it means that your deforestation numbers will go down. It means your greenhouse gas emissions would go down. It means all of the factors that contribute to deforestation, global warming, climate change would go down. And your public health budget will go down because you have fewer people, infant mortality, all of the illnesses that are on that spectrum of indoor air pollution, whether it's pulmonary diseases, upper respiratory diseases would go down. So it's a win in the sense that you would have cost savings from your budget. It's a win in the sense that you would have you would not be impacting the environment as terribly as you would if you were using dirty fuels. It's also a win because when women have access to gas, what I would usually say is, or the picture I would usually paint is, if you had a man and a woman living in a rural area, the man can wake up in the morning and say, Biodun, I'm going to hunt for wildlife. And he's up and gone. The woman, on the other hand, would wake up, go to the bush, get firewood, cook before her children can eat, and maybe go to school or do whatever else they need to do. It is only then she can now say, okay, me as an individual, what do I want to do next?
Yeah.
If she had access to LPG, that story would change very drastically. She can wake up and say, okay, I'm going to make eba and soup this morning, make it, everybody eats, and she can decide, oh, I want to go and learn a trade. I want to go to my store. I want to go for my meeting, whatever it is she wants to do. So she can be a positive contributor to that micro environment as it is. And that's in the most rudimentary form. Imagine someone who lives in the urban area that is not having that discussion, that decision to make between firewood and fuel. But she's working, she's contributing, she's employing, she's teaching, she's impacting. So you cannot have an economy where 50% of your capacity is being left idle. Yeah.
That's very great. I have a question for you. Firewood. Just a segue. Firewood jollof rice or gas cooked jollof rice? Which one? I know you're LPG. I know you're LPG. Which one is sweeter to you?
Let me ask you a poser. Let me put a poser to you.
Tell me.
Do you think the outcome of a food has so much to do with the fuel that is used to cook it? Any food?
No. No and yes. I'll tell you why. So what I'm asking you, we've actually gone out to do this as well, and that will come out as well, right? In terms of that. And say you're doing a barbecue, right? There's some wood you put in that gives it a flavor.
Mm-hmm.
They put it into the grill. The beef or, the beef, say even cognac or whiskey. They put it to age in a wooden barrel. That wooden barrel ages into the drink to give it a bit of flavor. So some say the firewood. I don't cook like that. I think I cook well.
Do you cook at all?
I do.
You make noodles,
But
or you boil water?
I have a comment. If you taste my food, you might not be so happy afterwards. That doesn't mean I don't cook. Right? But anyway, so you taste that. So some say, you see this wood scent gets infused into the jollof rice. I'm specific with jollof rice, right? While some say, I've spoken to people that cook actually and say, no, I actually use normal gas, but people don't know the difference. But I'm just saying that majority of everyone believes, and that's true. Firewood though is sweeter.
I think it's just a myth that has been sold to people and they've become accustomed to it. Like the way you would say you enjoy the bottom of the pot the most because it gives you that burnt flavor. So you can actually, if it's the burnt flavor you're looking for, that can be simulated. But really and truly, I do not think from my own experience that a food tastes good based on the fuel that you used to cook it. And it's just baseline. If you know how to cook, nobody will be saying, I must cook with firewood before this thing can be nice. It means you don't know what you're doing.
I agree. Actually, because that's what some of them said, that means the person doesn't know how to cook, But we've been sold firewood. It's sweeter for jollof rice. They can use gas for anything. That's what some people are saying. No. Use gas for anything. If you want to fry meat.
You can even, if you're so pressed for this firewood flavor, you can actually get the infused.
That's true. Health is more important, right?
Exactly.
Than anything else.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. That's just a segue. Now, in the gas LPG space, and we see what you're doing. We see the influence you're doing through the Win LPG. And in fact, you're doing it physically yourself. What are the challenges for you in that space?
I would say I would speak to the challenges across board. And the challenges that, in my own experience, I've either come across or I know people that have come across is the bias that technical roles shouldn't be occupied by women. So you want to set up a gas plant, for example,
Yeah.
and you've put in your numbers, you've done your models, all the documentation you would need to access finance, and someone has left all of that paperwork and is looking at you from the lens of your gender to say, "Ah, are you sure you can
You
run
can
this
run the
thing? This thing
business.
is a quote and unquote what a man should be doing." So I think a lot of work needs to be done in reorientation, helping people understand and relate to people on the basis of what they can do or what they can prove, as opposed to their
Yeah.
biological organs. Yeah.
So that's a major
Ye-
obstacle that you've seen in the industry, and a lot of
yes.
women really complain about that.
Yes. And then you also have, I would say, there's a lacuna in terms of what people know
Okay.
the truth to be and what the actual truth is. So we've had in our experience some homeowners who would not allow people who use gas
In their homes.
in their homes
Yes.
because they've come to associate cooking gas with fire or with
Fire,
explosions.
explosions.
But it's a fuel just like kerosene or any other
Anything can
thing
cause
that
that.
can
Yeah.
cause fire. We also have even domestic users that would say they have interacted with someone who says she would not use gas because she has children. And I'm thinking in my head, actually, you should use gas because you have kids. So the notion that it is dangerous is something that we need to correct. Anything is dangerous if you don't use it properly.
Misuse will cause anything to be dangerous.
Exactly. So the way that gas behaves,
Yeah.
which is gas is heavier than air, so if it leaks, it's going to settle. People need to know that. Put your cylinders outside. If you suspect that you have a leak, open the windows, ensure that your cylinder is outside. You cannot have combustion in isolation. So you're not going to have a spiritual fire. There are three things that need to be present in the ring of fire. You need to have oxygen, which is in the air. You can't control that. You need to have a fuel or an ignition source.
Yeah.
So the things you can control, you put them in control.
Yes.
And I think it's really just about educating people. If I'm using firewood because I think it's free or it's cheap, without understanding the impact, let's even leave the environmental benefits, which might be too abstract for someone who is not really educated to understand. But if it's just the direct health impact that fuel can have on you, I think it would go a long way to say that this thing that you are inhaling, and one of the very easy examples that we use is if you paint the ceiling of your kitchen white, and you use even kerosene to cook,
you would see the marks.
After some time, you would see that ceiling is going to go dark.
Yes.
And that's just a fraction of the particles that are seated in your lungs.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So when you inhale it, because it's a silent killer, a lot of people do not understand that every day.
It's not instant, so you don't see
so they don't see it
immediately.
But they also see some instant discomfort, like their eyes watering and the coughing over time that gets worse. So we use those examples to explain to them that the discomfort and the coughing is just a prelude to what is happening inside your lungs. If you have something that is free but is killing you, Are you going to still use it because it's free? No, you're not going to use it. So that education needs to get to every home for them to understand the impact of using this dirty fuels to cook.
And that's totally true. But there's this aspect too, after educating, there's a place for affordability.
Okay.
And spoken to a few people, and you also spoke about it in our other discussions, right?
Yeah.
And you said they have that cylinder, they know it's better for them, but they can't afford it. So what can be done? And you can't come and meet me and tell me, oh, use this, use that. I would do it, you would do it, you would change, the benefits you can, but will people accept it at the price? What do we do?
I think the timing of this conversation is a bit uncomfortable because Nigeria's inflation indices is at an all-time high.
Yes.
And as we all understand, purchasing power is impacted. And you now need to make a judgment call as to what is the most important thing to you as an individual. There are a lot of things the government can do, because when one or more of the indicators come down, affordability becomes an easier discussion to have. So in having a discussion of affordability, you can't have it in isolation. What are the things that contribute to affordability? What are the things that contribute to affordability on the costing side of the fuel?
Okay.
To say, okay, this portion, 30% of LPG is the product cost, 10% is logistics, another 10% is port dues,
Yes.
another. So when you look at all of those factors, look at the cost build-up, what are the things that can be managed? What are the things that if we tweak here and there, it can bring the cost down? That's on the whole. Then on the side of the consumer, what can happen? How do we improve on the purchasing power? What kind of interventions are sustainable? So instead of, you could say, we've heard different interventions from the government saying,
because they reduced port levy for equipment, I think, for LPG.
What they've said is they've so there are some tax
Yes.
holidays and all of that. But the thing is, you cannot incentivize the end product. You can incentivize the investment. If you say that you want to say, okay, you want to take out the tax, but I don't have the money for the investment. It is when I make the investment I can enjoy the tax benefits. If I don't make the investment, then I can't reap the benefits of those incentives. Correct. So how do we make funding more available so that people can invest more in the sector? What are the interest rates nowadays from the business perspective? So I've talked about, on the whole, the cost build-up. I've talked about on the consumer side, on the investor side. So there's so many things that can happen. What I would just say is that there needs to be a concerted effort. So people aren't working in silos. Person doing this, another doing that.
There's a lot of silos, though.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if all the silos can aggregate, I think there will be better gains for the industry. Yeah.
Oh, that's so true. So I'm going to ask if this question for the Win LPG. I think you've said that before. Your what is the ultimate goals for Win LPG?
I think that's easy now. We want more women to come, to stay, and to thrive.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. In your own experience, what do you see the trajectory of the industry? And what do you, for positioning wise and for anyone, what do you think is gonna, from your own perspective?
I think this industry has come to stay. And even though we might say it's taking a while for us to get to where we want to get to, we will get there eventually. because we don't have another choice. If you look at the revenues that are coming from crude oil, they're not where they're supposed to
Supposed to be,
be.
yes.
We're already maxed out in terms of debt, whether we're servicing debts or it's the forward contracts that have been given. So I think the the gas industry will get to where it wants to get to ultimately. How it will get there is a different conversation, or how long it's going to take is a different conversation. But I think that for countries that have, taken out fossil fuels as a whole, they don't use fossil fuels anymore. And we will get there eventually. When and how is a different discussion. So if that is an eventuality, the question you can ask yourself is, how do you want to position, whether as a business owner, as a consumer, as a government, as a people, to say we have 70 million strong youth. We have
Yeah.
a 70 million strong youth. What will we do with them? There are countries that don't even have 70 million people. So if you have 70 million youth between the ages of 25 to 40, I think there's a lot we can do. Renewable energy is coming into the mix, bio LPG. So there's so much,
so much to do.
to for us to think about and decide how we want to position.
I totally agree with everything. And you've mentioned such great points. Everyone has to position themselves as well as not work in silos. So to that end, I would like to ask one question. You've done so much. You've achieved so much, and you're pushing
Have I?
your passion for clean energy shows. I'm telling you. For cleaner energy, it's more than just you, from what I hear from you. It's about impact. And to me, that's more important than anything, because with impact, the other things come as byproducts anyway. So to be honest, I really love that about you. And I'll ask you this question. You're on the Energy Hack podcast. What is your energy hack? What makes joy? Aside the initial thing we said,
What was the initial thing I said?
you've forgotten. How you're disturbing everyone.
Oh, no. I think that
What's your superpower?
Everybody is we have our own superpower that we draw from, right? So I have a relationship with the Holy Spirit, and it doesn't make me a perfect person, but it means that when everything else fails, I have a fallback. So I take my relationship with him seriously. I also think that there is a thing called work-life balance.
Okay.
Relationships are very important, and you can make relationships horizontally and vertically, not just within your space. All my friends are lawyers. It's only lawyers I talk to. I talk to everybody, to be honest.
Yes, I've seen that. I've seen that in action.
So I'm very intentional about the kind of relationships I want to keep.
Yeah.
I also invest in my relationships as well, as much as I can. So friendships are important. I would also say you need to find your own balance. What works for you? What works for Dami might not work for Joy. I've told you what works for me. My relationship with the Holy Spirit, my relationship with my friends. What I try to do that, to be honest, I don't do as much as I should, to read.
Okay.
Yeah, be
So
genuine.
you're a reader.
I used to be, maybe not anymore. So read, be interested in knowledge, in information. Don't just let things happen to you and they're just talking over your head. It doesn't even really have to be anything that is, this is the in thing, but be educated, be enlightened. The platforms we have, they can be so powerful, but it depends on how you use them. So you also need to filter filter the noise, the things that are not beneficial. It's okay to get entertained from time to time, but improve on yourself.
Yeah.
There's so much free
Information out there. As much as a distraction,
Yes,
it's also
but
something
it's also there.
It's up to you.
Understand what's
Yes.
happening. How does it impact you? How can you position what's happening outside of Nigeria? What similarities can you draw? Just, put yourself, make good use of your time, because it's not going to come back.
That's true. And we've seen that in you. So we thank you. Lastly, I would need you to speak to that camera.
And say what?
You're going to say how we can contact you, your LinkedIn, are you on Instagram? Are you on TikTok?
No, I'm not on TikTok.
So everybody that comes there, we get them to join TikTok.
Why?
I don't know.
I'm not even on Snapchat. Okay. Snapchat came before TikTok, right?
Yes.
I'm not on either.
You're not joining Gen Z people now?
I don't see the need.
Really?
Yeah, the only thing
from an advocacy, from any other aspect.
No, I will do Twitter. I'll do Twitter. Anything that can happen for me.
Yes.
Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn.
That's perfect. Well, it works for you.
Exactly.
It works for you. So people want to know you, and people want to, get to know you the more. So you can.
Okay, so my name is Joy Shaiyen. You can find me on LinkedIn. Shaiyen is spelled Shaiyen. Yeah. If you'd like to email me, is jshaiyen@gmail.com. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this special episode of The Energy Hack, and we'll see you next time.